This is cliche, but you can't control the outcome, but you can control the process. And I think it goes deeper. If you stay curious, committed, the outcome usually takes care of itself. Hey guys, welcome back to another Rest, Eat, Move podcast. It's Matt solo in the studio, and today I'm going to get on for a quick podcast. As you've been following me on this journey, on this process, as I've shared kind of behind the curtains, it's something a lot of people ask us about that I'm trying to show in real time. But I'm on week 6, week 7, about 2 months in of this journey. And today I want to talk about a couple things: curiosity, making mistakes, and more importantly, blind spots. And so I'm going to kind of title this about blind spots, about those areas of opportunity that we either can't see or didn't know existed. As I was writing my weekly blog that I've been trying to do each week on this journey, it was my 6th blog, and I was talking about sleep and recovery. And as I start on this journey, one of the things I shared is I wanted to create more space. I wanted to prioritize my health in a different light than I have for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And one of the things I thought I was doing really, really well, and I do think I'm doing pretty good, was sleep. I think very rarely is there a night, maybe 6 out of 7 nights a week, I'm giving myself at least 8 hours of a sleep period. I prioritize it. I value it. I try to do a couple things to make sure that it's quality. So I thought I was doing a pretty good job, and I think I am doing a pretty good job. But one of the things I realized is I had a little bit of a blind spot. I didn't have full awareness of my sleep because we kind of we sleep and we think we have a restful night's sleep. We don't really remember maybe waking up or tossing around. We don't know how much rapid eye movement or deep sleep unless we have a wearable. And I really don't believe that we need to be so fixated or plugged into another device or wearable. But it's interesting. I signed up for Whoop. I've used Whoop before, Oura Ring, wearables, however you can track some of these things. And I think I had a blind spot when it came to my sleep. Most nights I get pretty deep quality sleep, pretty good sleep, but I uncovered a couple things I wasn't maybe expecting to uncover. A couple things that are going to have to tweak my plan, tweak my process. I'm not abandoning the process. I'm not abandoning the plan, but I have more data now. So a couple insights. If I use my phone too much, especially when I'm by myself traveling for speaking, or maybe I'm working on a project or a problem, too much phone time during the day always equals poor quality sleep. I feel myself wrestling. My mind's too activated in the middle of the night, 2, 3 a.m. I wake up, I can't fall back asleep. And then going to bed after 10:30. This is a big one. When I go to bed after 10:30, I think I miss my sleep window. I've created this circadian rhythm that I know that I want to go to bed before 10:30, and it's harder for me to fall asleep if I go to bed after 10:30. More importantly, I wake up more during the night when I go to bed after 10:30. Number 3, when I skip workouts, I start to get less deep sleep. And these are all data points that I'm uncovering because I'm wearing the Whoop to get me the information. And the last thing is my heart rate variability is very good. It's probably one of my best metrics on the Whoop, usually between 215 and 230. When I have 1 glass of red wine or a beer or any type of alcohol, my HRV tanks. So one of the things that I really want to prioritize is I want to get deeper, better quality sleep as I'm looking at some of this data. I would not have this knowledge or this self-awareness if I wasn't wearing the Whoop. It was a blind spot. And so let me back up. As I set off on this journey, as I share with all the followers, everyone's in a different spot. My journey is no more unique or important than anyone else's. Maybe there's some things that don't resonate, but I think that sharing the vulnerability as I'm going through it is really valuable, because the one thing I didn't do is I didn't set off on this journey just to survive. I set out on this journey to really thrive. I'm surviving. I think I'm probably doing better than average, but I want to thrive, which means about thriving for myself. And there's a difference between the two. So I kind of was jotting some notes down today, and survival mindset versus thrive mindset. Here's a couple things. This could be you. This could be someone you know. I need to avoid dehydration. Maybe my doctor says, hey, you've been dehydrated. You need to avoid being dehydrated. That's a survival mindset versus I need to hydrate optimally. Do you have a blind spot? Do you think you're hydrated because you haven't cramped or you haven't passed out? But do you really know? Are you optimally hydrating? This doesn't mean taking a hydration powder. It means just thinking about it differently of optimizing, thriving. Another example, I need to move my body. Okay, yep, to survive, we need to move our body. I think a lot of people, that's a good start. Versus I need to move 10 to 15 minutes of intentional, high intensity movement. Very intentional, thriving mindset. Number 3, I need to get sleep. And this is where I was. My sleep I thought was pretty good, checking the box. Versus I now look and say I need a little deeper sleep, restorative sleep. I need more rapid eye movement. And so that's kind of where we are today is these are two mindsets. They look very similar. And as I was getting ready for this podcast, and it's a little bit different than my weekly blog, I thought one of the things I can share with you is this idea of curiosity, making mistakes, and blind spots. I had lunch with a gentleman today. I don't know him very well, but we're coming to know each other a little bit more. He does some similar things work-wise that I do and vice versa. And we're talking about where we are in a society. You got ChatGPT. We're always on. We have access to information technology at every facet. My kids never want to be bored. If anyone's having a tough spot, they can easily click a button, take a pill, do something to boost their energy or decrease their mind or take some type of magic pill. And we were talking that one of the arts, whether it's health, business, life, happiness, is you have to have the ability to make mistakes. You have to get uncomfortable. And I was joking that 3 of the best things I've ever done professionally in my career, I hated the most. And as we fast forward to 2025, it is so easy to not do what you don't want to do. I don't want to move my body. You don't have to. I think eating healthy is boring. I'm just going to Uber Eats. And so we have everything, instant gratification at our fingertips. You know, we live in a society that we emphasize or reward all these strengths. We maximize strengths. So I like sports. If you jump high or if you run fast or if you're really strong or athletic, you know, those are some amazing strengths. And I was listening to Tom Brady talk about how he thinks most rookies coming in the NFL more underprepared mentally than he's ever seen, yet more physically prepared or skilled than he's ever seen. And I think that's where we're at right now. This is where I kind of find myself. It's easy to focus on our strengths. It'd be easy for me to hop on here and tell you the strengths that I have. You may look at kind of the full picture and say, man, why does he care so much about this journey, this process? He's doing pretty good. Because when it comes to our health, it's not necessarily our strengths. It's, are we aware of the weaknesses? Because you can't outrun the weaknesses. You know, just because you're the fastest runner in your community doesn't mean that you're healthy. If you catch a cold or get sick every 2 to 3 months, your immune system is not thriving. Just because you jump the highest doesn't make you the best athlete. Just because you're physically gifted doesn't make you win the game. In the NFL, many teams that start 0-2, everyone thinks the world is crumbling. Yet there's some teams that start 2-0, you know, are not going to be there at the end. And so what's the difference? The difference is the process. It's the plan. Are you sticking to the plan or are you sticking to the process? I'm 2 months in. I'm sticking to the process. I'm sticking to the plan. But I'm curious. What are my blind spots? What are some opportunities? That's what I shared with you. I had an opportunity and some blind spots around sleep that really had me excited. I would not know these if I wasn't curious or was so fixated on I'm doing 100% the best I can do. We're avoiding pain. We're avoiding discomfort. We're avoiding difficulty because we don't want to know those blind spots. So for me, I talked about blind spots around sleeping. I'm going to continue to press that, be curious about it. But I also want you to understand is I'm going to make some tweaks. Those 0-2 teams that started in the NFL, they might be 5-2 now. They might be catching on to their stride. Just because they started 0-2, they didn't give up on their process. They didn't give up on their plan. They adjusted. And so we all have blind spots. We all have weakness. And I think we do ourselves a disservice, especially today when we can chat GPT and Google and search and AI and have everyone tell us exactly what they think we should do. The true art is when you create your own pain, overcome your own discomforts, and actually do difficult things. It is not easy to get 8 hours of sleep, but I think it's worth it. And so you got to be curious to that. You have to be open to making mistakes. You have to put yourself in those challenging situations just to kind of gauge. There's a science to everything. I think we're over-sciencing everything, but we can't deny the art. If it's not working for you, then it's not going to work for you. You have to listen. You have to adjust. If working out in the morning doesn't work for you, then do it in the night. If it doesn't work in the night or the morning, how can you do it during the middle of the day? You have to be open to try different things. It's not one size fits all. I'm 2 months in, and the number one metric that I'm tracking is my process. That's what I want you to think about. Do you have a process? Do you have a plan? And are you bought into that process and that plan? Those 0-2 teams that were bought into the process and the plan, made the tweaks, they're now the best teams in the NFL. The teams that started 2-0, thought they were great, weren't willing to make any changes, modifications, their ship is sinking. They have no chance because they weren't curious. Be curious to tweak. Be curious to adjust. But your number one metric should be, are you bought into your plan? Are you bought into your process? This is cliche, but you can't control the outcome, but you can control the process. And I think it goes deeper. If you stay curious, committed, the outcome usually takes care of itself. And so for me, I'm now more aware of this sleep, that I actually have a little bit room to improve. And it's going to make other things better and easier and more efficient. As I kind of wrap up October, I talked about I had some goals. I'll share with you some of those next week. It's my weight. I had some pull-up numbers I wanted to reach. How's the recovery going? Am I giving myself space? But just to be honest, last night my Whoop said I had 19% recovery. I didn't drink any alcohol. I didn't stay up too late. My daughter decided 3 a.m. was the time that she wanted to wake up. And that's life. And I think we're in this world where we hear all these trends and influencers and these prescription approaches, do X, Y, and Z, and it equals the outcome later. And there's always going to be an artistic way. That's the habits. That's the rituals. It's going to be the ups and the downs. And so you're going to have a 19% recovery that's sometimes out of your control. But I'm not going to give up on the plan. I'm not going to give up on the process. I'm just going to try to recover and reset tomorrow and show up again. And that's the key, because we always have blind spots. The best drivers in the world still have a blind spot. But if you're willing to look, be curious, open, it's not about your strengths. Strengths are important, but can you fill some of those holes, some of those weaknesses? That's your job this week. Go find your blind spots. We'll see you again next time.